get some things done here. So it is 6:02 and I'm calling this meeting of the Bristol Budget Committee on Tuesday, November 14th to order. Our first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Buzz, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh, you're going to take the hot seat?
No, I'm sitting actually. Last week I'm sitting there, we got a little there before.
Yeah,
They're moving us around. I think we got.
Thank goodness we have name tags.
It's where the box ends up, I think. And Mr. Chair, just to apologize, I just realized that the October 10th minutes are missing from the website. We'll fix that now.
Okay.
And I do normally check in with, well, obviously, you were all set, I didn't go.
Okay, good. So we're called to order, we've done the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll go into new business. Our first order of business is we have a non-municipal group that was not able to make any of our earlier meetings. They contacted us recently and said they are available, and we said, sure, come on down, we'd be happy to hear what you have to say. So if you can both move up, but I need at least one of you to move up, I need you in front of the microphone so that it goes into the recording and other people that aren't here will hear what you have to say.
Sounds good. Does that work right there?
Yeah, so if you could introduce both of you just so that they're in the recording, so my minute taker can get your names into
Sure.
the minutes.
So I'm Ernest Roy. I am the quality director at Pemmy Baker Hospice and Home Health. This is my colleague Melissa Smith, and she is our new director of home care, hospice, and palliative care. So thank you very much for making a little bit of time for us.
Where are you located?
Our base of operations is up on Boulder Point Drive in Plymouth.
Oh,
We're right in the same building as the Mid-State Health Center offices in Plymouth.
Yep.
Right across from the Walmart and the Tractor Supply place and Veterans Housing just up from us.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we got you did submit your written request for town funding, and we did receive that, and that's in our packet of information, but we have asked all of the folks to come in and give us a little more information about what they're doing. Do you have any remarks, or do you want us to start asking questions, or how would you prefer to handle this?
Well, I think in the past, the individual who is our prior executive director, Danielle, had come here a few times. She recently moved on to other opportunities in our agencies, sort of in the recruitment phase of a new executive director. So I said, well, I'd like to step in and come out here and meet you folks and represent Pemmy Baker. So that's how we get to be here tonight.
Okay.
So I will confess I've never been in one of these particular types of meetings before. What information is most pertinent and useful to you folks? Sir?
I'd like to hear about a little bit of just what you do
Sure.
in Bristol.
Sure. So in Bristol, we actually do sort of the same thing we do in all the towns we serve. We provide home health and hospice services to the people in the community. The services could include, in the case of home care, registered nurses, home health aides, physical and occupational therapists, medical social workers. When we go to the hospice side, all of those things apply, but we also have a hospice medical director, our physician, Dr. Saunders, who will come out and visit the patients. We also have chaplain and spiritual care and bereavement services as well. So it's pretty much the standard mix of services that most home health and hospice agencies provide, but it's the full menu.
How can we help you improve the service to the town of Bristol?
Well, that's an interesting question, because one of the things we're always looking for is feedback. That's the biggest thing I think that we can take from the communities we serve and the patients and families we serve. We have a formal feedback mechanism that's in place through the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and these are patient experience surveys that are sent out to both hospice and home care patients and families. But as you guys all probably know, most people feel like they're up the wazoo with surveys and opinion polls these days, so we don't often get as many of those back as we'd like. But hearing directly from the communities, I still think is our best way to make the plans that we want to make to keep improving the care. It's really a matter of, what do our communities need? What do they feel that they need more of? What are our families telling us they'd like us to do more of or less of, or do it a little differently? So that's really essential in my opinion.
Looking through your paperwork, it seemed like that in the town of Bristol, one of the key services you provide is that home hospice care.
Yeah.
As far as your agency as a whole, how much of that is your work, that hospice care versus the other things you do?
Hospice care is is probably our main driver. In terms of staffing, we don't see as much call for the therapies, the occupational physical therapy services in hospice, because the goals of care change when somebody moves over to hospice. Home health care is designed to be restorative care. Somebody's been hurt, they've been sick, they're trying to get back to where they were before. And the goals of hospice are really more care and comfort. People know that restoration is no longer possible, so their goals change. So we don't see as much therapy in hospice. They get a lot of the nursing, the home health aide, the chaplain and counseling services, and the social work services.
In a town like Bristol, besides your agency,
We, in the past, have had foot clinics at some of the senior centers. For example, up in Plymouth at the senior center there, we had a foot clinic for a while. The nurse who was doing that for us decided to fully retire. So we've sort of been in a search mode to try to find somebody who would take that over.
If we had a senior center here in Bristol,
We do.
would it be easier for you to apply those services that the seniors
Oh,
need?
yeah. I mean, that was the big draw for the foot clinic, is to have a centralized location, and you would have a regular schedule, if you will, of times and dates when people who wanted foot care, and obviously you probably understand this applies to people with special issues like diabetics who really have to be very careful about how they manage their feet. So folks would come to the senior centers and they would be seen by the nurse, and they would manage their feet.
That's how it used to be done by Nana.
Yeah,
I have a heart problem, and they used to take good care of my feet,
yeah.
very good care of my feet. And I knew other seniors that used that service, and we missed it.
Yeah.
And yet the building is there where we used to provide it, and now that service that many of us need isn't available to us. And I certainly hope that we can bring Penny Baker into town and get some of those services.
What building would be used for that, sir?
I don't know, but I'm gonna put up a damn good fight for it.
But you were talking about the Nana building, right?
Yep,
Yeah, that was where you would go for
but that isn't what he
Yeah,
and
no.
I were just in reference.
Right.
And now the senior services are provided at the
There's a church, correct?
Bristol
United
Church of Christ.
Is that building set up in any way where they could have a private room or two where something like that could be done for folks, or how is their facility?
They do have private rooms. I don't know if the church has private rooms. I don't know whether they have access to them. They use the main fellowship hall for socializing and then providing a meal once a week.
Yeah.
I know they run it in Plymouth pretty much every day of the week, but in Bristol it's just one day a week.
Yeah.
Heard of it?
What's it?
I never heard of it.
They've asked for funding, and yeah.
Wow.
So I can tell you that I think our presence out here has been growing. When I look at our numbers from 2022, we did a total between hospice and home health and all the disciplines of 526 visits to people right here in the Bristol area, not in the area, in Bristol, in the town of Bristol. As of the end of October, we had 629 visits. We're working on developing a closer relationship with the Mid-State Health Group, and they're the biggest physician practice in this area. As you know, they have a growing practice here in Bristol. I've been out to the practice recently to talk to some of the providers and do some in-servicing with them. So I think that developing that relationship even more will probably continue to increase the numbers that we see here in this community. We work very closely with them in Plymouth, and it's just a logical extension to do the same here in Bristol.
I guess I'd like to ask a question is I actually just received a piece of direct mail from you folks as a fundraiser, and I hear you have been advertising quite a bit on the local radio stations. I've heard that.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So when we first met Danielle and she came in, we were a little bit confused because we had always had requests from Nana, and then when Nana merged in with Lakes Region, we got requests from them, and now we had the request from the group from Plymouth, and we were like, and she explained, she said, well, it used to be that an organization kind of owned a town. You know, if you were in Bristol and you needed something, you went to Nana. If you were in Plymouth and you needed something, you went to Penny Baker. And she said that, she explained to us that those fences had gone down, and now it was basically everyone kind of for themselves, and people provide where they can provide. And looking at the map that was included in your, it looks to me, are you guys going through a big change? You look like you really expanded your big picture. What's going on with Penny Baker is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, in terms of the service areas, I think when Danielle came on board a little over 5 years ago, the fences coming down, as you refer to, one of the other things that happened around that time and has continued to happen is we found that our staff, the people that work for us, providing the care directly, we're starting to recruit people that are more far-flung than they used to be. We have nurses that live right in Meredith. We have nurses that live up in the Notch and all through the county area. So it actually makes a lot of sense to follow that path because we have people who are based very close to the communities. It's allowed us to basically divide our operation into territories, if you will, where you have a group of nurses and therapists that primarily do what we call the South, which is Ashland, Holderness, Bristol, Alexandria, sometimes even over in Meredith and a little beyond. And then we have people based in what we call the North, which is Plymouth and all the way up through to Lincoln and Waterville Valley and North Woodstock, and we've even had a couple patients as far as Littleton. And then we have our western area, and we have folks that are based out in Rumney and Dorchester and Wentworth and all the way to Orford. So it's almost a necessity in this day and age. Grafton is a fairly big county. It's rural. So we're fortunate to have staff that are spread out and enabling us to do this. We're trying to meet people where they're at.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or concerns?
No, so you don't have any staffing issues at this time? You're pretty well?
We're doing pretty well. You have to keep beating the bushes.
Yeah.
And everybody in healthcare right now is finding that it's a constant operation. Because when I'm 62. When I started in this business, my first job, I was there 17 or 18 years. I've been at PEMI going on 14 years. The younger folks don't do that. They change jobs like some people change socks. And that's normal. So everybody's always keeping an ear to the ground. And we've been fairly successful. I think some of our best recruitment has come from our existing staff because they feel like, they're well treated, everybody respects them, and they know somebody and they say, hey, Why don't you check out Pemmy Baker?
The only reason why I'm asking that is because I heard they were like, so like the visiting nurses going in to see patients in hospice and stuff like that. Have you ever had to turn patients down that you didn't have enough staff to do it or go?
We've never turned down a hospice
Never
patient.
did that, okay.
No,
Yeah.
there are, actually, that would be, we have sort of planned different scenarios. Because on a short-term basis, you could see situations where a couple people are on vacation, somebody gets sick,
Exactly.
and then what do? And we've already made the decision, our hospice patients are the top drawer priority. They get first crack because they're in crisis.
Yeah.
You know, this is their last chance, so we're not gonna miss them.
I asked Guy Tilson to be here with you tonight, but he was afraid he'd step on toes.
For those of you that don't know, Guy's our chaplain. I asked him to come, he said, go to hell. So,
He said that? I'd be amazed to hear that from my. But I did try to get him to come here with you tonight.
no, good Lord, he'd rather drop dead than do something like that. Guy is a very gentle, sensitive person. And,
Yes.
but he felt it very important to let me know about this so that we could come out here and meet with you folks. So I'm very glad that he did.
I'm glad he did too, because I certainly hope you bring a lot of competition into our town.
Well, that's the intention. That's the intention.
And no one could represent you better than Guy Tilson.
Yeah, Guy is a real gift. He does what he does because he loves it.
Yep.
And that's what we look for when we hire somebody. I know some places have, and I do a lot of work with the New Hampshire Home Care and Hospice Alliance at the state level. And a lot of the agencies I mix with have said things like, you know, we're hiring people we really wouldn't want to work with under any other conditions. And I understand that not, if you get any group of professionals together, you always have a bell curve where some people are just rock stars and then you've got a large group of people in the middle. But we always look for people who want to help the patient and who want to provide the care. You know, you don't need everybody to be a brain surgeon, but you do need everybody to care and to have that heart. So that's something we'll never be able to get away from.
I really hope that you will bring a level of competition to this field that improves the care, because there's a lot of us, and I'm 80, and there's a lot of us in this town that need the help.
Yep.
And it hasn't been available since we lost Nana, and I wish I had been more astute and supported Nana better, because Nana took good care of my father and mother. They took good care of me when I needed help, and they took good care of everybody that I know who had needed their help. And I really miss Nana. I hope you can come in and fill their shoes, because their shoes are empty right now.
Yeah. It's funny you mention that, because when I started with this agency, I'm a physical therapist by trade, and I still work in the field at times. And I'll go out and do an admission, and more often than not, the people I'm meeting will say, "Hey, you took care of my sister." "Oh yeah, my father had you. My next door neighbor said he met you some years ago." And you start to feel how small a world it really is around here.
Well, this is a beautiful town, and the seniors in this town need your help. I'm asking you to help, and I'm guaranteeing you I'll be on your side.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking time to
Oh, my pleasure.
come and share some information with us.
This has not been the toughest room I've ever had.
I hope this town is the friendliest town you've ever come into, because it is that friendly a town.
I'm sure it is. Thank you, folks. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
All right, next item on our agenda is a general review of the proposed 2024 town budget. which then I think links quite well to the next one, which is to talk about general goals of the committee for the upcoming year. I don't know if anyone has anything. I'll start by saying I had hoped to do a little bit more analysis than I have. I did get the spreadsheet version of the budget from Christina, which she had said was poorly formatted, and but I got it yesterday and I haven't really had a chance to look at it the way I want to. I think we commented earlier, or maybe it was before the meeting started, that the personnel policies really are set by the town, by the select board. So I'm not comfortable going in and second guessing salary levels. So what I really was hoping to do, and I haven't, so I'll beg your forgiveness, but is to look at how does the rest of the budget, I mean, I know a lot of the proposed increases in those salaries, but what does the rest of the budget look at? And in particular, year on year, are we seeing that we are fairly successful at trying to keep that flat, or did that go up quite a bit also, or what's going on? So I really am personally frustrated because but I don't think I'm unique. The number is just so high that it frightens me, but I don't know what to do to change it. I don't think we have any good choices, and I think if we had good, easy choices, the select board would have already taken them, so that's not a surprise. So I feel like I'm starting to ramble a little bit. I want to open it up to the rest of the committee and see what other people think or say.
I have a general question for Sean, and I don't want, if it's confidential, I don't need specifics. It's just more of a mechanical question. The old firehouse, I understand there's something going on. I don't need to know what, but if that's a sale, would the proceeds be applied to retiring debt on the public safety building, or would they go into more like a general fund account?
Proceeds from sale of property go into the unexpended fund balance and could be used at a later date to offset taxes.
That's what I was wanting to, thank you.
To take us on a bit of a tangent, looking at bigger things, there are a few items that I feel are better on the warrant than in our budget. I'm always big about that line of
We've talked
the
about
budget
that
versus the
before, so
warrant.
what do you
And
think?
there are a couple items, and when those items come up, I will be zeroing them out, but with the hopes of that there'll be warrant articles that I want to have looked at separate from the rest of the budget.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to those. You don't want to get into the detail now, that's probably for the best,
Yeah.
but we'll look forward to that later. But Christina, you have a comment?
With regard to that, though, Charlie, the only concern that I would have is if you are going to make them a warrant article, you'd want to give the select board enough time to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So some of your budgets aren't going to be heard till December and January, and warrant articles probably are going to be done by January, so
So would mid-December work?
I think so.
Yeah, it's just a matter of we have a formal deadline to.
So can you put it on the next
Yes,
budget?
okay. I'll put it
agenda?
on the agenda.
And I'll bring up those items all at once.
Do you know what is the formal deadline? What is it?
We'll have to get back to you on that, but it's generally around the end of the year, beginning of January,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
there. Yeah, you have to kind of work backwards from
Right.
from your voting date. You have to kind of work backwards, but
Okay.
it's in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing is, because we would have to formally vote and then put it on the
Right.
warrant,
Right.
and then we have to post the warrant with enough notice.
Yeah.
So they actually have to get it to you, so it probably could be mid to end December, because the select board has to vote on it and put it in the warrant first, then you vote on it again, obviously, in your public hearing, so.
Right. That's not a problem. I think that what you brought up is a good point, and I think Charlie's suggestion makes sense. We'll add it to the agenda of the next meeting, and Charlie can share a list of things that he'd like to have the committee consider. That's something we as a group have to decide on, but I'm certainly open
Yeah.
to Charlie's suggestions or concerns.
Can you give us a heads up, Charlie?
He's gonna do it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I just
Well,
don't, I didn't,
I mean, before the next meeting.
like one in particular where it was in the police budget, the speeding and
Oh,
equipment, that type of thing. I think
the-
that is,
For the radar units,
to,
it's also
that
gonna be
seemed clearly
offset
a
by-
warrant article type item for me.
Okay,
Stuff like that.
I just wanted to prepare.
And it's not that I support or don't support it, it's that I don't think it's the right place.
Okay.
Well, can I break in with two things?
Yeah, please, go ahead, that's what we're.
Several years ago at the town meeting, several of us stood up and brought before the select board that we wanted a study and we wanted town employees brought to a rate of pay that kept our employees and didn't lose them. How we fell behind, I don't know. But certainly it wasn't the intent of the people at that town meeting that we'd be falling behind in paying our town employees. I, for one, very much appreciate town employees when they're standing out in the horrendous rain we had, fixing up our roads in the rain, while the rest of us cowards are hiding indoors. They're out there shoveling gravel in the rain. And I don't want employees that you can call at any hour of the day or night that respond like that paid less than what they make in surrounding town. We paid for that study, why wasn't it kept?
Well, I think, this is before your time.
Go ahead.
So let me just interject. I joined the board at that time, and I thought that that had been taken care of, because I can remember going to meetings, because I used to go to all the select board meetings. Now I sit on the couch and go to the select board meetings. But people got raises, and then it seems like it's been 3 or 4% increase since that time. So they should be where the norm is.
I understand what you're saying, and I gotta be careful here, because I'm talking off my head without any notes, but.
Yeah, I know.
I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. The select board proposed, and we included, and we gave people raises up and above their normal step and merit, because they'd fallen behind. And I know nobody made any guarantees. I kind of was like, okay, now we've taken care of that, we should be okay. And now we've come back to this year and said we've fallen behind yet, and we need to do yet another makeup. But I also, you go through the classifieds at the back of the Sun, and there's a ton of towns that are. I've seen ads for Bristol. I think it was for water and sewer. But other towns are out there. I know talking to Deb saying that she can't hire people as beach attendants because she said one person called them up, said they were interested and asked what the rate was, and when she told the person how much we were paying, they're like, I can make more at Walmart, I'm not interested, bye. And that's what we heard from the select board last meeting with John, was that the proposal that the select board has made is to basically do another big revamp. They're gonna chop layers off the bottom of the salary structure chain level thing and create new ones at the top, but I'm personally in agreement that long term it's more efficient, it's actually more cost effective to keep good working people here working rather than letting them go somewhere else where they're going to make more money than hire someone off the street and train them up. And then if you do a good job training them up and you still don't pay them, they're going to go somewhere else. You're going to keep doing it again and again every couple of years. So I'm a little frustrated, Walter, because I agree with what you said. I don't think anyone in this room is arguing against that point. So I appreciate what you said. I'm going to go ahead. We're not too formal. I'll let our select person.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And I don't mean to step on Les's toes, but I was the deciding vote on that implementation of that final implementation of the wage study when I was on the board the last time around. I thought it was the right thing to do, and it was the right thing to do. had boards change. And there are years when the board has said, various boards have said, we want to give a 3%. And then there were years where they said, well, it's going to be merit-based up to 3%. So some people didn't get 3%, they got 1.5%, or they got 2%, or they got 2.5%. I think there was a year in there where there was maybe a 1 or 2% increase, which was pretty small.
Was that based on the performance of the employees?
No, that was across
Just because
the,
across, okay.
yeah. And then there are situations where folks fall behind on the scale themselves. They should be, it either is not recognized or it's not picked up, but instead of being on step 4, they're on step 2. And so we made a lot of those adjustments over the last couple of years to get people to where they should be based on their experience and their qualifications, because take a firefighter, they have 6 or 7 different qualifications, and as those go up, you know, they should be recognized for that above and beyond just being there another year, right? So we've made those adjustments as well, and that's one of the increases. And then frankly, our cost, we're trying to do 5-6% when, you know, the cost of living increase is 8 or 9%. And so the last 2 years, that is a big reason why that has not kept pace, because we just, we went to town meeting last year with a 6% increase at the budget, and we were right on the budget, not on the pay. We were petrified, you know, because it's always 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. People supported it because it was largely a salary issue. So we've spent the last couple of years trying to get folks up. The problem is you work up and you get excited and you work up and you pass like the wage scale, and then you sit back and say, wow, that was hard. We did it. All right, now we get 2%, now you get 3%. And so it doesn't keep up. So you end up doing this and this. So that's frustrating on our behalf, too, on our side too. And then when, like you said, when pay is going up 8 or 9% a year because of cost of living, we're in a tough spot, because we want to pay our people well, but we also have a lot of people who just can't stomach, whether it's politically or in the pocketbook, increases like that. But it's a really tough time to be. I see it on the private side with hiring folks for my work. I mean, I'm hiring people at a level I didn't make until about 4 or 5 years ago, and they're coming out of school with no experience. And it's like, wow, I was 40 years old before I
That wasn't a few years ago.
It's getting there.
But you're right, because that's what the other people look at. They exactly what I worked, I was only making this amount.
Everybody, and I've always said that, everybody remembers what prices are when they were just starting out, when times were toughest.
Yeah.
I came out of school, I was making $9 an hour. My wife was making $26,000 for the city of Laconia, and grocery, we'd spend $75 on groceries, maybe.
Yeah.
So you have those in your head, but.
And the population of Bristol is mostly seniors.
Exactly, so they remember.
The people who are here year round.
Supporting the property taxes.
And so
it's very hard for us to understand how we could ever pay so much.
It's a tough spot to be in.
I know, but
But we can't provide the services without having people.
No.
And that's really the position we're advocating for,
So-
just like Walter is.
So I hear what you're saying, and I think, I'm not hearing, I certainly am not arguing against it. So I kind of want to move us on,
Yeah.
because I think that I'm coming back to you, Walter.
Okay,
She said
I
two
have
things and you
two.
only did one. But I wanted to point out that if somebody does disagree, eventually we'll get into budget sections, and if you want to make a proposal to amend, to reduce things, you have that right, and we will discuss that. But at this point, I think I'm not hearing anyone disagree. I didn't say it as a formal thing, but my intention is not to make any motions to amend any of the salary lines in the budget. I feel, I've only been in town for about 10 years, but I wasn't nearly as involved in the town then as I was, but I can remember 6-7 years ago when it seemed like the budget committee and the select board were arguing about who was in charge, and I certainly do not want to get back to that. So, not planning to try to micromanage the select board. To me, there's a clear hierarchy. Select board is above budget committee. Sorry. So Walter, you said two things and you did one. I want you to come back and do the second.
The other one is when we arbitrate or discuss wages, I make a proposal right now to show how important it is to me that when we start negotiations, we start at the bottom and work our way up the pay scale. Show the people in this town that work for the town that it's important to me.
Okay, I heard the word you said, but I don't understand.
When we
what you're
start
proposing.
negotiations or discussions on line item pertaining to the wages, we start at the bottom of the pay scale and work our way up.
Well, we don't set the pay scale.
No, but we
board
vote
does.
on the budget lines.
Okay.
He's saying they can be increased, this one.
Oh, okay. That, I didn't understand. Thank you for interpreting that.
Very
for me.
perceptive.
That's because he's married. That's the
I got you.
difference.
Right, so I had commented that people can make amendments to propose a reduction. You can also make an amendment to propose an increase. That is.
I said to start at the bottom of the wage scale and work my way up, not approve the top and then work my way down, because that isn't what I see. I've been on the bottom all my life. I was a municipal employee, a grade 5 wastewater treatment, and I know what these negotiations have done to the people at the bottom that work there. The people that come in at midnight and work till 8:30 in the morning and gotta eat their lunch out on the line. I've been there, I know what it is. And I make a proposal that we start with negotiations with the people that are at the bottom. Let's show them for once that they're important to us.
Okay. Les?
The only thing I'd add, when we talk about an aging population and Bristol having a lot of retired people, is we've seen in an adjoining town what happens when we can't provide the services that we're providing to our people with our EMS service and police and fire, having all of that available to a very high level, which makes a difference. And as you have an aging population, it can be a life or death.
And the seniors in this town aren't opposed to paying them.
Right.
We will also cross that bridge quite formally when we get to town meeting, and all of our voting people who come to the meeting get a chance to express their opinion.
It's not our budget. But we'll help push it.
All right.
I have a couple things,
Go ahead,
that-
Janet.
and where we've got two selectmen here, that I'd like to see. I would like to see every selectman spend a half a day at each department. When I did that, before I got on the board, Mark had said, no one has done this since Mr. Dion. He was the last person from the town to take a ride in the snow. the shoveling. And you have no idea what an employee does until you just sit there. And you know they're gonna be on their best behavior and they're gonna say the best project to have in front of you, but you get to know the people. And I think that's important. I've heard for years from the old timers that you used to have an open door policy, and we don't have it anymore.
I would disagree with that part. I mean, because I,
It's not my, I'm just,
yeah,
okay?
because they come to me.
Well, they can, that was the other thing is, I would like to see a selectman spend some time here in an office where someone can walk in and say, I got this issue. I remember when the selectmen used to have their phone number, their email on Facebook, and
Yeah.
I don't know how to get a hold of anyone.
It's right on the website.
Yep.
Janet, I'm not saying your suggestions are bad, but I'm thinking you'd be better off to go to a select board meeting and share that. This is not so much.
I actually do like, I'm making a note about spending time in the departments.
Okay, that's all.
I did a full tour of wastewater with,
Oh, okay.
with Jeff.
Isn't that delightful?
It is, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, you can't imagine how much that man knows.
Oh, yeah,
Oh my God,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm done.
Did you, I thought you said two things, so did that it, you're done?
Well, it was
Okay,
the availability
gotcha,
and going out with all the departments.
okay. So, I'm not prepared to make any sort of a motion or an ask for to set a specific number, I think last year we had said we didn't hit it, but we said we were trying to get it down closer to 3%. We took it down a little bit, but I don't have any feel. I don't know if anyone else does. I don't know if anyone else does how confident I am that we can do it. I'm just expecting we're gonna go through all these sections line by line and look for opportunities and see what we can do and put as much of a dent in it, but it's still gonna be a big increase is my expectation for the ending. Does anyone else have any thoughts or want to do something different?
We have to go line by line. and
Correct,
we have to do that.
but in the past, somebody's made a motion that's been seconded and we've set a specific goal for the committee to come up with a budget that has a certain, that limits the increase from last year to the proposed next year. And I'm not gonna do that because I don't have a number that I have any confidence in that I.
Well, the thing is to just shoot for the goal. That's all we tried last time, was to
Right.
shoot for the goal.
Right.
And maybe we didn't get on it, but we did pretty good, I thought, as far as what we could eliminate insofar as the budget. I think it was like 100 and something thousand, I mean, whatever it was. We actually were able to limit pretty good.
We did some.
So we can certainly do that again. I mean, aim for a certain percent. If we make it, that's great. But if you don't have a goal, you're not going to even try.
Okay.
So, I think I prefer that. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but.
So do you want to make a motion? Do you have a number in mind? Put you on the spot.
Yeah. What would we have last year? Was it 3% or 5% last year?
So, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know. I thought it was more than that. I thought it was more like 6%. But part of the challenge is, I mean, the number that we report out that the people vote on includes water and sewer. Personally, I always feel like, I know we do have control, but to me, we have less control and we also have less concern because it's not paid for out of taxes, it's paid for out of user fees. So I always, in my mind, I always focus more on the top part, the town operations part.
I was gonna say, I think you started last year with 7% and you were shooting for 4%.
4%. That's what I
But
thought. It's like small, 3 to
You
4.
did cut some, but you
Yep.
didn't get all the way to the 4%.
And that's fine, but you still have to have a goal. I mean, like I said, so that's to me is fine. We can say 4% again, and see what we can go for. But if we get to 2%, 3%, at least we've You know, we may not be able to do that, we may hit it, who knows? But again, this is need versus want. That's all I always do when I think of this stuff is, you know, what's needed in the budget and what's wanted in the budget. So, you know, different things. And sometimes you have to make those sacrifices that you can't. People will get upset, but that's how it is.
So the current proposed budget from the select board has, I believe, just under a 10% increase
Overall.
overall. That includes water and sewer, right? And then without water and sewer, it's gonna be less, because water and sewer went up because there's money in there for the big project that's not completely nailed down, but it's intended. So I don't have that number in front of me. Do you wanna?
It was in last week's packet, let me just pull it up.
I know that it's all available. So I'm struggling, Janet, because Janet, I'm sorry, Susan. Where am I going? Sorry about that. You're right, if you set a target, it's just I'm struggling because I don't have enough feel that I'm comfortable making the motion, because I don't know what the target should be, because I want the target to be a stretch, but I want it to be somewhat reasonable that we have a chance to hit. If you say 2, I think I get a better chance of winning Powerball.
Well, and I think you might be talking staffing at that point.
Yeah.
Beyond 2, you mean, or 2?
The world has gone financially crazy. A year ago, when we talked about this, we thought 4 or 5% was a reasonable thing based upon what we had seen in the past. What happened in the past is unimportant now. This is a new day and age. And if I had to put a number on it, I know it couldn't be reached, but I make a motion that we keep it under 8%. They're looking for 10, and I don't believe it can be done at under 8%. But I think if we agree to try to get to 8 or under, then we'll be doing something. So I'll take the blame for it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we try to aim for 8%, which is a big reduction over what our leadership has shown us that we need. And if we can achieve it,
So
we'll be better off.
Just
But 8%, a couple of years ago, would have caused people to scream murder.
I hear you. So before we go into discussion, I'll need a second. Do you want to do that?
No,
I just think 8% is too high. I don't
Okay,
think, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I can't go off the
Yeah.
hip here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
So-
That's a deciding
I don't-
factor.
So I don't hear a second, so I'm not gonna allow discussion, because we don't have a motion on the table. So does somebody else want to make a different motion?
Can you say, I make a motion for between 3 and 4% to try to shoot for 3 to 4%? You're talking about a reduction in the budget, correct?
Well, you're talking about a reduction from the select board proposed budget, which would be an increase over last year's budget. I don't know how you get into all this.
Are you saying a 3 or 4% reduction from what we sent you, or a 3 to 4% over what was approved last year?
That's a very good question. Yeah.
That's the question I was gonna ask.
Because it's a big delta.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
two different things.
Yeah, that is 2 different things.
So part of the reason that I'll say it again, part of the reason I'm struggling is that I think that if we make a motion and second it and pass it, I don't think it changes much. I think we're still gonna go over lines, budget, line by line, department by department, item by item, and look for places to cut. So I'm not gonna make a motion because I would love to have a target, but I don't have any confidence that I can set a good target. So at this point, I'm willing to just go into it knowing we'll cut as much as we can and live with what we end up with. So I'm happy to entertain a motion from someone else, but I'm not gonna make it because I
That
don't know what
motion's
number.
on the table, and I'll second it.
But she doesn't know which
She
motion.
doesn't, yeah.
I need to go back to Susan and clarify what her motion is before I let you second it. So,
So just remember, there's two members here that have not seen the 10% from the selectmen. Is that in the packet that I would have gotten tonight?
that's what we did,
Two
that's what we did last meeting that you weren't at, where Sean came and shared.
You know, what you gave me was reports up to 2022. You didn't give me
It
23 or
was in there,
24.
it was in the packet that we gave Walter.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring it and I said no. And I said, no one's gonna believe me, but I did not get it.
I think I dropped everything off that,
I don't know.
that I had. And you can ask Bud, I even asked everything that came around the room, I asked for more.
Susan, in an effort to move on, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
You want to make a motion, but you don't know what motion to make, you're not prepared. Can I offer to put this on next meeting's agenda and give you 2 weeks to think about it and come to the next meeting with a motion?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
And I'll email Janet the
Yeah.
missing budget.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I
So,
don't.
so
That will give you
not,
time to think of.
so not hearing any other conversation.
No, don't worry about
So not
it. I
hearing,
wasn't gonna say anything.
so what I've said is, Susan wants to make a motion, but she's not comfortable making it now. I'm okay with that. I'll put it on the agenda for next meeting, early in the meeting, probably first thing after the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
And that'll give her 2 weeks to think about it and look through the worksheet and see what she wants to say.
And
Because
when-
I don't think we're gonna, I don't wanna spend time, because I think we're starting to spin our wheels.
I think when it used to be, remember when Kevin was on the budget, the fireman? Okay. And-
McCaffrey.
Huh?
McCaffrey.
That's it, yeah. I haven't seen him in years, so I don't even have him in my radar. He would always, he wasn't the chairman, but he would always be the one to say, we go 2.5 or 3. He never went above 3. That was before the pandemic, when you could count on things being the same as spending. And you guys know, I'm the tightwad. You know that. But we can't go back to those days anymore, as Walter said. You know, we might have to go to 10. Go.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else been reading the Concord Monitor's been running a series of articles that started. They're talking about New Hampshire has the lowest ratio right now of available workers to open positions of anywhere in the country. That the market is extremely tight, and again, I'm gonna talk off my head, so I'm not have the details exactly right, but I remember listening to something, I think it was on the radio, where they talked about they were having trouble filling firefighter positions in Laconia, so they doubled the signing bonus from $10,000 to $20,000 and hired a bunch of people. So the market is tight and crazy, and to Janet's point, what was true 5 years ago isn't true anymore, so we gotta live with that.
And how do you compete with that? Offering signing bonuses?
Realistic, it's really not all realistic, it's not.
Right.
Long term, it's gonna break.
Right.
And I would just like to second Paul's opinion, not second the motion, but I'm with you, and I think there's a consensus in the room from last week that we can't do anything about the salaries, that we have to accept the select board's decision because the town isn't able to hire people. And that's the lion's share, that's a big portion of the budget. Setting goals, I think, is unrealistic because the field of play where we can operate to trim expenses is going to be narrow. And we can't leave the town with well-paid employees and no tools to do their work.
Correct.
So I think I think I'm against setting targets and just we go through it and we do the best job we can. But at the end of the day, the town has to still provide services.
Okay. So I think we've reached a point where we had a motion for 8, we didn't have a second. We know we've got somebody who wants to make another motion but doesn't really have the details of what it'll be. I think it's reasonable to entertain whatever Sue comes up with at the next meeting. So I'm gonna move on now to the next items in our agenda. So what we have now is actually the start of the detailed discussion. What we're gonna do is handle I like to lump them all together into non-town agencies, although it's not exactly right. But historically, we've divided them up into the regional associations, the health agencies, and the outside agencies. So we're gonna open up each of those 3 sections. We're gonna make a motion to move that line of the budget and then get it seconded, have a detailed discussion, entertain proposals for amendments and vote on those, and then go ahead. I'll point out that at a later date, anything can always be reopened, but that's where we are now. So let's go to regional associations. Open that up. See if Is that what you have? Go ahead,
Before you start, should we say that we will have available 10% to give to the agencies or 8%? Should we back into it that way? Or should we do it like we've always done it? We've always gone line by line and said, Nana got this and Nana gets, whatever each individual agency wants. We don't, I've seen us cut, but not much,
No.
1,000, 2,000. Should that go till next week? Till the next budget meeting? Or should we are we doing line by line for?
Well, it'll be interesting. I hear what you're saying, and I like your suggestion, but because I just got the spreadsheet, I don't have a analysis, and you don't have it at all.
Yeah.
So neither one of us are prepared to make a motion to say the total for these 3 that fund all the outside agencies should be limited to something. So I kind of like to go through it because I wasn't sure how the rest of the committee was going to go, but I heard some conversation, particularly from Walter. At the last select board meeting before they finished their budget deliberations, actually just when they finished, I was there and I said to them, hey, just for my information, I'd like to know what's going on with the old fire department, because there's some money in here to maintain the building, and I'd like to be able to cut that. I'd like the building to go away. And Sean said, well, we haven't made a decision, we're discussing it, and we don't know what we're gonna do, there's no guarantees, but right now we're probably leaning towards selling it and getting it back on the tax rolls. And then before tonight's meeting started, I heard Walter saying that he's strongly in favor of not selling the new building. He wants the town to hold on to the building and turn it into a senior center, which to me creates a whole new budget department for senior ongoing expenses. And at first blush, I'm open to be proven wrong, but at this point, that sounds like a horrible idea to me.
And to be honest, how can we even, I don't have the education as an architect to say we sell it or we keep it, because I believe there's structural issues at the fire department that I heard years ago.
Well, I heard the same thing, that it's built on fill and this and that, but if we sell it and we make it clear that it's as is, then it's the new owner's problem and it's not the town's problem. I'm thinking the town will be smart enough to sell it as is without any guarantees, but that's not a problem. But the other thing that came up was, to be honest with you, I've said before, I've said this to a couple of people informally, I said I'm a big fan of, if you've got between these 3 lines, I think we have 10, might be 12. We have 10 to 12 lines where people have asked us for money. And I said, when money is tight and you say you want to do some cutting, my personal philosophy is not to say, well, we'll give everyone 90% of what they ask. My personal philosophy is to rank them 1 through 12, give the 12th one 0, and give the give the ones that you think you get good bang from your buck, their full request, and just say, well, sorry, you know, not saying you're worthless, but if you're the one we think you're worth least, then we can't afford to. I know last year we had, I'm coming back, because Pemmy Baker, we told them in the note that we sent out this year, you need to submit your written request, and you need to show up at a meeting. And if you don't show up at the meeting to explain what's going on, we reserve the right to hold that against you. So when I found out last week that Pemmy Baker had finally responded and said, yes, we're sorry, we changed our executive director, we kind of lost track, we'd like to come. I was like, oh, I was getting ready to propose them down to 0. But I have to be fair. They said they were now coming to a meeting. I'll put them on the agenda and they'll come. But the meeting last year, the woman from Pemmy Baker was very nice.
Yep.
The person from Lakes Region was a bit of a jerk, and so we did what we did. This year, the new executive director from Lakes Region was much more reasonable and talked a much better story. I feel much better about them, but maybe I don't have information that Walter has, because Walter still seems to have.
They have improved.
But you were telling Pemmy Baker that Lakes Region.
They have a lot of improvement to do. A lot of improvement to do.
So I'm kind of curious to see, because what I'll go ahead and say it now. I was planning to because Lakes Region, in the past, we've given them 33,000. Last year, we cut them to 16. They asked for the 33 again. The select board is, I don't have it in front of me, I think 16 or 20. I think you took them up to 20.
They almost cut them to $1 last year, and I was the first one to say we can't do that. As much as I would like to have hit them hard, and I brought people in here to be here to speak against them, and then when I realized how badly it was going, I had to quiet them down and chase them out.
So Janet, to answer your question, I'd like to have the discussion with the, in my mind at least, we always have the option later on, if we're saying we're trying to do cuts and we're really not doing as much as we would, and we'd like to go back to these agencies, we can put them back on the agenda and none of these decisions are final until the last meeting in January before the public meeting. So we can't talk about something that's not on the agenda, but we can always put sections that we've decided back on the agenda and reopen them. I'd like to have the discussion tonight to I think it'd be good to share some information and see, where are we? Because I think we get some good value from these people, but if we're looking to cut things, I think it's a lot easier to cut an outside agency than it is to cut a town department.
But that's the services for seniors. And I don't want to see seniors cut too much because I'm one of them. And I need those services. And I'm not the only one. I'm speaking for more than one household now. We need the senior services. And if we can slap Lakes Region hard enough to wake them up, and we did last year wake them up, then the seniors will be better served. And if we promote Pemmy Baker, we'll have competition, and that'll really wake Lakes Region visiting nurse up.
So what I'd like to do is stop talking about the nursing associations, because the first section is the outside agencies, which is Municipal Authority and Lakes Region Planning. Let's handle those, then we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and do this. So let me start off. So I'm going to make a motion to move section 4197, advertising and regional associations, in the amount of $7,205. Could I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Walter is second. So we have a motion that's been seconded. Did I say it right? Did I get the right number and say the right things? Good, thank you.
I don't even know where you're looking.
So what I'm looking at is, I'm looking at the sheet that's on the screen.
4197.
If you go to the yes. Do you see this? Do you see the file that says Advertising and Regional Association?
Oh, yeah.
Double click on that,
I was in the outside agency.
and that's what we're going to talk about. So this one, I think, is going to be pretty quick. Yes, please.
I have an adjustment for you if you'd like.
All right, so let me hold off on a second. So let me just say, This one should be pretty quick because the Municipal Association is an organization that the town has been a member of. The select board has made clear the town wants to continue to be a member of. They don't negotiate with us, they set a rate and we pay it. The rate, I don't know, is this one, did they finally give us a final rate or is it they both of us, they give them a rate and they're working on it now. So these were preliminary numbers.
So, regional planning, I don't have yet, but I do have the municipal association annual dues.
Yep.
It's not a huge difference, but it's $3,654.
Okay, so we'll make an amendment to change it from 3,686 to 3,654, did you say?
54, yep.
Okay. And I don't understand all the details, but the Regional Planning Commission is an organization that provides services to our planning and land use department. I think they've made clear that we get maybe not as much as we want, but we get value for that, and they're not prepared to walk away and not be a member of that. And so, unless we want to overrule one of our departments, we don't really have much choice other than that's again a yes or no. We can't offer them 50 cents on the dollar and have them let us continue to be members of their organization. So, I'll make a motion to amend line 832 of section 4197 for the New Hampshire Municipal Association from the current number of 3686 to a new number of 3654, which is their official dues for 2024 for Bristol. Correct, Christine?
And I'll second that.
Okay, that's okay. Sue seconds it. Any conversation, question, comment?
No, he explained it well.
I thought we were okay. So we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I have 6 yeses, so there should be no no's and no abstention. It passes 6-0.
I can give you the new number.
The new total number?
Yes.
Okay.
I can plug, so as you make changes, I can plug them in. Normally I would be plugged in so you can see those changes automatically, so I'll fix that going forward. But the new number would be $7,173.
7,000, I'm sorry, 100?
173.
Sorry. Okay. Does anyone else have any 7,100?
73,
Any other comments on section 4197 for advertising and regional associations? Not hearing any more comments or questions. We'll go ahead and move the
It is.
bottom line amended amount. So we're now going to vote on section 4197 in an amended bottom line amount of $7,173.
Oh, we just have to say.
Yeah, so the motion was made, it was amended, and the amendment was approved, so now we're just gonna vote on it. I didn't actually call for a vote to close discussion, I don't think we need to be that formal. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that passes 6-0-0. That was the easy one, hooray. Let's go to, which one is next on our agenda? Of health agencies, the interesting one.
Let me just see what time do they run this?
So this is section, so I'm gonna make it a motion to move section 41, try again, Paul, section 4415, which is health agencies and hospitals, for a bottom line amount of $23,500. Can I get a second? seconded by Les. We now have a motion on the floor for discussion. Does anyone have a comment, a question, or a motion to amend? Walter, you want me to give you a
I'm
couple of minutes?
ashamed of
No,
myself.
you're
Give me
okay.
the number again.
So it's, the section is 4415. 44.
Oh,
Take your time.
yeah, $8,051?
No,
No.
Well, that's one of the lines, yep, the top,
that's what they asked.
for you.
Okay, then this report has it at 8,051.
That's one of the requests.
Okay. I
That's
got it.
one. It's the summary that we got.
That was the,
Okay.
That was what they requested,
that was
that's
what
not
they
what was,
requested, yeah.
Okay,
the select
Then
board
I'm
has
gonna look
changed
at
it.
okay. There must be another one.
We didn't do that Excel sheet over again, it's just this one now, Janet.
So,
I can't even read that.
Do you need, it
I'm sorry.
was in your packet.
It's right here.
No, I didn't get
so
the
you got,
packet.
you
Yeah,
got
it's
Lakes
in
Region
both. I
Business
sent it
Nurse
to
Association.
Oh, the one that I
You
had.
asked for
Okay.
33, and the select board has
Yeah.
recommended 10.
So it's a new one.
And
Okay,
then
tonight.
they
Sorry.
asked for
It-
85,
Okay.
and the select board recommended
Oh, 3,500.
No, the packet from tonight, this one, can I pull that
That's where we are right now.
So, if you look in
Has,
here.
it's been seconded?
So the motion has been made and it's been seconded, so now we're discussing it. So we can either make comments,
That's all I got.
questions, or motions to amend.
I'd like to make a motion to amend it to exactly what it was last year.
Okay,
Okay, that's all right, sorry.
Both lines?
so it's,
The whole section?
The Lakes region,
okay, so this is.
Okay.
16,000,
16,700.
Right, so right now, we
The
have.
select board had asked
Right
to
now,
change
Yeah.
we have 20,000 in for Lakes Region, you're making an amendment to change it from 20 to 16,700.
yes.
Does anyone want a second?
I'll second it, actually.
Okay, so we have an amendment that's been made and seconded, so now we're gonna discuss the amendment. The amendment is to adjust the amount of money for the Lakes Region VNA from the select board recommended 20,000 to level fund them at $16,700, which is what we gave them last year. Do you wanna speak, I want you to go first to speak to your amendment.
The one thing I'd like to do is promote competition between Penny Baker and Lakes Region. I would like to make a motion right now that anything we take away from Lakes Region, we give to Penny Baker.
Okay, we need to vote on this amendment before you can make another amendment. So, but I can understand you're sharing your intention, we
Yeah.
appreciate to hear that, okay. So you're not looking to take the
I'm
total
not
number
looking to
down,
cut
you're
the
looking,
amount.
you really wanna shift.
I
But it's gonna be done in two
cause
steps,
some
there's no
competition.
guarantee that the second step's gonna happen, we're talking the
No,
first
it's
step
up
now.
to the select board is gonna do,
No,
okay, if the amount doesn't change, the select board has the right to do what they want with that, to spend it. But the motion that I made was to increase, not to increase a penny, but to spread it more towards Penny Baker and not give it to Lakes Region.
Les, go ahead, you gonna say something? I don't
Well,
wanna cut you off.
the budget committee budget is the one that's gonna go to town meeting, so we're not gonna go back and change your budget. Your budget will be what goes to town meeting.
Right.
So, we've set our recommendation. I think we'd be fine with going to what is on the table now as far as the bottom line goes. Personally, I would not be comfortable shifting monies from one to the other. I think
We're awful generous to Lakes Region.
We've had.
We built that building through Nana, and we got served by Nana. And then the service disappeared, and it hasn't been very good.
I don't disagree with you, Walter, but I think you're right, that it is improvement. And we heard from them directly that that is a goal of theirs, is to make it more of what it was. So I don't think we would be supporting that effort by giving more money to a different agency and taking away from. the
I haven't
agency.
seen the town give to anybody else on the prospect that we're gonna get better service.
You
So-
just said tonight, though, that It has improved. from
It
the last-
has improved. I admitted that to him.
Yep.
It needs improvement yet.
And so not necessarily, so it's improved, and that's the good thing. So that's why you feel it should be at 16,700.
Yes.
To keep it, when they improve more,
Yep.
then we can consider that next year.
And
Okay, so I'd like
if
to
they're
keep it.
faced with Penny Baker competing with them,
But Pemmy Baker's has already gone up as well. Pemmy Baker last year was 3,500, and they're asking, you know.
but they aren't getting what they asked for. The select board has not approved what they asked for.
What is the select board asking?
3,500.
So to answer your question, Penny Baker asked for $8,051, and the select board is recommending they be level funded at $3,500.
Yeah. And
So-
you're asking then to
To
take
take what we
the
take
difference we're
away
taking
from
away.
Lakes Region, we give to Penny Baker. We're not increasing our spending, but maybe we'll increase the service we get for our money. I'm not impressed at all with what service we get. And I've been vocal with that, I hide behind nothing. I wrote them a letter and they didn't even have the courtesy to answer it. When they walked out of the room, they were laughing at me because they didn't think I'd write that letter.
So I don't want to cut you off, but
No,
I want
I'm
to make my
done.
comment. So I started this cycle prepared to still be annoyed at Lakes Region. And I found the new management team at least friendlier and more responsive. I also was prepared to tell them that they weren't doing things, and the woman from the Grafton County Senior Citizen Council, who does the program one day a week at the BUCC on Tuesday, was like, oh no, they send a visiting nurse over to do a blood pressure and they do support us. So what I know we're only discussing Walter's amendment to the Lakes Region, but I want to make it clear, since he's also said he's going to follow up. I'm a little ambivalent, but I'm willing to vote at this point, intending to vote in favor of Walter's amendment. But I'm not interested in shifting the money to Penny Baker. I'm not going to vote to support any increase to the Penny Baker 3,500. I'm just letting you know that's where I'm right now.
If we aren't willing to pay for the services we need, we're not going to get them.
But they have to, in good faith, they're telling us, you know, like the, the Lakes Region, that they are intending to change all this stuff. In good faith, we're gonna take them at their word. So until it does get better, like when we see more things happening, like you said, it's very reasonable to keep them at the 16,700. But I don't think it's very reasonable to move it over to any other thing either at this time, any other, Penny Baker. I don't think it would be the right thing to do. They're yes, seeing hospice patients and things like that, but at this point, he did say that they would be increasing, this fellow did say that they could do more efforts to do that. When they show more efforts and the need changes, we
They have
reassess
increased
them.
their services by his discussion, by my observation, I've seen their services increase.
Yeah.
And I think the different people that I know who have been served by them are much happier than the ones that I know that are served by Lakes Region. And nothing would wake them up any more than to see Penny Baker get rewarded for what they've done. And that's what the seniors in this town want, is services.
I'm unclear now on the motion.
Yeah.
So the motion
The motion
at
was
this
made to
point,
level fund the health agencies as it is, but to move the money from
No.
Lakes
No,
Region.
no, let me recap.
line item at a
Let me
time.
recap. The motion that was made and seconded is to change, to amend line 350, which is Lakes Region Visiting Nurse Association, from the current select board recommended $20,000 to $16,700, which is level funding from the current budget. That's the amendment. The rest that Walter has been clear that after we're through with this amendment, he is planning to make another amendment, and we will certainly give him that opportunity. But the way committees like this work is you can't talk about multiple amendments at the same time. Once an amendment is made, you have to discuss and resolve that amendment before you can take up other amendments. Okay? So
Give a motion.
I just want to be, I guess what I was going to start to do was to say, okay, I think we're done discussing and call a vote, but I want to make sure we're done discussing. So I'm not hearing any more. You made your point clear. Other people have made some comments, and I think we're clear. I'm not 100% sure of how the vote is going to go on this, so we'll find out. So let me just be clear. I'm going to call the vote, because we're through discussing, on the amendment to change the funding for the Lakes Region visiting nurse from the current $20,000 to $16,700. So if you vote yes, you're voting to reduce from 20 to 16,700. If you vote no, you're voting to keep it where it is. All in favor? Raise your hand, or actually raise your hand, because I want to be able to count hands. I have 5. Again, no, Janet is up.
Yeah.
So we're 6. So that passes 6-0. So line 350 of section 4415 has been amended to $16,700. Walter, I think you were clear. I'm going to go ahead and just tee you up. Do you want to make another motion, propose another amendment?
Do I go to the other one now? or-
So yes, so you want to adjust line 360, which is the Penny Baker line, right?
I'd like to adjust that, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that the 3,300 we took away from Lakes Region go to Penny Baker.
So you want to go, to be clear, so if you,
Making an amendment.
yeah, I just am trying to get so it was 35 and you want to add 37 to it?
No, 33.
33.
Okay, that's why I can't get my math to work. Thank you. So Walter, to recap, to summarize, Walter is making a motion to amend line 360 of section 4415, which is for Penny Baker Hospice and Home Health Care, from the current $3,500 to an amended amount of $6,800. Does anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Walter, seconded by Janet, to change the line 360 for Penny Baker from 3,500 to 6,800, and I think Walter would make clear that that keeps the total for the section 4415 constant. Do you want to say anything else in favor, supporting your amendment?
All I can say is we need the services. I don't care to take away from services from the seniors in any way.
Okay.
And if I can do something to support that, I will. If we can get Penny Baker to appreciate us as much as we need them, we'll be well served. And it'll sure wake up Lakes Region when they find out about it, if this passes.
Okay. Does anyone else want to make a comment or ask a question? I will take, I guess one thing I want to share with you, Walter, is that in some ways, I don't really see Lakes Region visiting nurse and Penny Baker Hospice and Healthcare as much. So last year I would have said I do see them as direct competitors. I see Lakes Region focusing on recovery. You're sick. You're hoping to make a recovery. We're going to send a nurse out. I'm hearing, and from what I've heard from their advertising, Penny Baker does some of that, but they really focus on the hospice. So Penny Baker is more about end-of-life care. I'm not saying that they don't do some of the same things that Lakes Region does, but their emphasis is different. I'm now seeing them more complimentary than I would have 2 weeks ago. I've learned some more about Penny Baker in the past 2 weeks. So I'm not sure, expecting them to be competitors and supporting Penny Baker is going to light a fire. Yeah, Sean, we're informal, go ahead.
As someone who's been through this fairly recently, generally, from what I can see, what happens is someone is in need of service, whether they're being discharged from the hospital or they're in a nursing home or whatever the case may be. Families are offered either this is who we generally work with, or these are the agencies that are available, do you have a preference? And so it's not like the agencies are going door to door saying, hey, choose us for your hospice care. So yeah, they're competitors, but at the same time, it seems very, I don't know, it's kind of up in the air as who people choose and all of that other stuff. So they're in competition, but it's not like you and I both selling the same product and we're competing against each other. So it's kind of, I won't say luck of the draw, but it's kind of luck of the draw on who ends up. And they might also say, well, for, like you said, for hospice providers, they're the player in this area, and so people go, okay. But, for other, if it's rehab or they need a therapist to come in, we work with both of these agencies, and do you have a priority or so that's what I've seen as my mom being a user of that. If that gives any highlight to kind of why they end up where they end up in working in the towns.
Yeah, and if we worked in the medical field, that's exactly what happens. So we would call them and we would say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set up this agency, whatever. We have this agency, we have this agency. And sometimes it's just a matter of who's closer to you.
Right.
Where do you live? And this is where it is. It's just that easy. Or we can get you in right away.
For my mom, it was, they were there for her husband.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically all set up like that. It's nothing to do with competition. It really isn't. It's just any play agency is just going to be saying, yeah, okay, we'll take that on. When I asked him about the hospice situation, I was actually asking him that because I felt the same way, that I think that they deal in more hospice aftercare. That's why I was asking him that question, because I thought it's a little bit different. Yeah, they can give extra services and they can probably do other things, but until they start doing that, I don't see.
My foot right now is cut open because I called Penny Baker and I went up there and saw them and they said, we aren't touching that. They called Dr. Biss. I drove down to Concord. He operated on my foot. I got out of the hospital and I came here that night to the select board meeting and got thrown out. So I wrote a letter last year and Lakes Region retaliated by reporting an 81-year-old woman to the state for abuse of her 84-year-old husband because of what I wrote.
You have mentioned that in other meetings, and I don't know all the details, and I don't really want to talk about them in an open public meeting, but, and I was having a conversation with one of the members of the board of directors for Lakes Region, and I was sharing that information with her, and she was somewhat aghast at that and said, well, that's basically, she said, that's one of the reasons we flushed our executive director and got a new one.
I gave you a copy and I think I gave everybody a copy of that letter, and they didn't even respond to it. The only response was to retaliate against the couple. And I didn't name the couple in that letter. I was as careful as I could be not to name it. And they retaliated against them by calling the state and accusing them of elder abuse. And that 91-year-old woman's 92 now. She keeps the cleanest house in Bristol. She takes care of her husband. Unbelievable. And to accuse her of elder abuse. is infuriating.
Okay,
Walter, can I ask a question? Did that incident occur before the appointment of the gentleman that came before us?
correct. This happened,
That's
happened.
what led
This
to
happened-
his
this
dismissal.
basically happened 12 months ago when we were having these discussions when it was, so both organizations have changed executive directors.
Yeah.
Lakes Region changed their executive director, I believe, in the spring. And Penny Baker just changed their executive, well, actually, they don't even have a new one. Their old executive director left at the end of October, and they're looking to hire a new executive director now. So,
'Cause I was impressed with the fellow that gave the presentation.
yeah, he was
Now,
much better than
it's
the
all
one we
on
had
the
last
come at
year.
this point, but,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think, based on that, I voted for the level funding. Let them prove,
Okay.
prove it.
So, any other comments? So we're discussing and preparing to vote on the amendment, which is to adjust the Penny Baker budgeted amount from the current $3,500, increase it to $6,800. Any other comments that anyone wants to make? I'm gonna go ahead and call our vote then, because I'm not hearing any other questions or comments. So, we're voting on an amendment to increase funding to Penny Baker. If you vote yes, you're voting to support increasing the number from 3,500 to 6,800. If you vote no, you're voting to keep it at the current 3,500. Everyone clear on what we're voting on? Okay, so again, I want to see, raise a hand so I can count. All in favor of the proposed amendment to increase funding for Penny Baker? One, I see. Opposed? Okay, so that motion fails 1 to 5.
May I make another motion to at least give them what they asked for?
That's more than what.
That's more than
Yes.
$8,051, that's more.
Yeah.
You can make that amendment, but I don't think you're gonna get a second.
More almost.
What they asked for is listed under department, so they asked for 81, but the select board chose to level fund them at 3,500.
Okay. All right, I misunderstood that and I apologize.
That's okay.
I was gonna actually ask to put a motion in to maybe give them the slight increase from 3,500 to 4,000. I would just increase it by $500.
I hear you. So Susan has made a motion to amend line 360 of section 4415, which is funding for Penny Baker, from the current $3,500 to $4,000.
Which is half of what they're asking for.
And I think I heard Walter say that he
I'll
seconds
second
it,
that.
so we have yet another motion, another amendment to discuss. Do you want to talk in favor, do you want to make some comments in favor of your
No, I just
support of your
think
amendment?
it's fair. I think that it's half of what they're asking for. We're giving them a little bit of an increase. Like he said, they have done a few more things. So it's worthy of increasing it, I feel, that amount.
Anyone else want to?
Just from tonight's presentation, their patient care census is up.
Yeah.
Just for the 9 months of this year, it's already well in excess of last year in terms of Bristol residents treated.
Okay, anyone else want to make a comment?
I would just comment that by doing that, we're doing what we did for, what was Nana, Lakes Region is giving them half of their request.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
So I was going to make the same comment, is that I was told in the past that Nana is potentially a third rail subject in Bristol politics, and that by cutting them last year, we potentially were taking a risk of riling people up, is the way I will put it. So I don't disagree with you, Susan. I just think I'm going to vote against it because I think it's much easier to justify what we just did by saying we're level funding both organizations. The budget is tight. We're looking for places to not spend money. I think if we increase the amount we're giving to Penny Baker, we open ourselves up much more to criticism, to people who want to see Lakes Region as the successor to Nana getting strong support from the town. So, but I'm not sure will everyone votes. It's not. Go ahead.
Lakes Region's not Nana.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Not hearing any, we will now vote. So, again, I'd like to be careful to make sure we're clear, so I'm probably getting a little pedantic here, but I'm gonna do it again.
Thank you.
So we're voting on a motion to amend line 360 of section 4415, which is funding for Penny Baker Hospice and Home Health Care. It's a proposal to change the current funding amount of $3,500 to a new funding amount of $4,000. So if you vote yes, you're voting in favor of increasing funding from $3,500 to $4,000. If you're voting no, you're voting to keep the funding at $3,500. So I'd like to see a show of hands, all in favor of the motion. I have two, I think. All against? Oh, three. You
Yeah,
four.
three.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think
You
it
were
shows
behind Walter. That's
Right,
okay.
yeah.
Against? 3-3. I believe that does not carry the motion, right?
Right.
So the motion fails. So if somebody else has another amendment, I'm certainly willing to take it up. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and vote on the bottom line for section 4415 as amended. Not hearing any comments.
20,200.
Thank you. So we're now going to vote on the amended, on section 4415, which has an amended amount of $20,200. So we're voting to finish this section in the amended amount after our amendments. All in favor? Do you want me to explain it again?
I'm not clear what the amount
Okay.
was.
So what we've done is we've got $16,700 for Lakes Region. We've got $3,500 for Penny Baker. So you add those two together and you get $20,200. So we're now voting for the whole section, which is those two lines. What? Yeah.
We voted to take 3,300 from Lakes Region,
Correct.
so it should be reduced by 3,000.
Right. It was $23,500 and now it's $20,200.
I'm in the wrong line again.
That's okay. Does it make sense now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the amended amount is $20,200, which is less than the starting amount of $23,000, but the amendment's been approved, so we don't need any more amendments. We're just going to vote now on the bottom line for section 4415 in the amended amount of $20,200. All in favor? I get 6, so I can say nays and abstentions are 0. 6-0-0. Okay. So now we'll do the third section, which is outside agencies. So this is a longer list, but so again, for those so this is section 4652, Walter. So it's going to be down further. Let me It says page 1 of 2, but there's nothing on the second page,
The
right?
the second page had a weird total again.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
It
Is
is-
that the page that had the phone numbers? There was a page,
No.
no?
No, this one, it had another total and I just took it out because I
Oh.
didn't
So-
think you needed a second total.
So again, let me start this off with a motion. I make a motion to move section 4652, which is outside agencies, in the total amount of $38,838. Can I get a second?
Second.
seconded by Les. So this has Transport Central, Grafton County Senior Citizens Council, Tri-County CAP, Voices Against Violence, Lakes Region Mental Health, Pemmy River Local Advisory Committee, Katy, Bridge House, CASA, Day-Away, Passaquoddy Garden Club, and Newfound Lake Region Association. And all of those lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Are you saying, did you say day away?
Day-Away is in there, yep,
Okay,
for a total of,
Well,
so Day-Away is line 580.
okay. So day away is, it says in here, didn't reopen until, 2024, so yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I got it.
So that's a total of 38,838.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, or want to propose an amendment? I'm gonna be, I think that they do wonderful work, and I think the town would be a much sadder place without the Passaquoddy Garden Club. But I do not understand why the select board chose to give them more than they asked for. And if the budget is super tight, I'm gonna make an amendment to level fund them, because that's what they asked for. So I'm gonna make propose an amendment to adjust line 836 of section 4652, which is Passaquoddy Garden Club, from the select board recommended amount of $3,000 to $2,760, which is actually the amount that they requested. Is anyone willing to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Buzz. So, since it's my amendment, I will now, if they had asked for $3,000, I'd be happy to give them for $3,000. I'm doing this as much for consistency of positioning and story. I want to be able to stand up at town meeting and say, we cut everything to what is needed to provide the services that the town makes the town the great place that it is. And I just can't, in my mind, justify giving them more than they asked for. So I'm open to counter arguments, but that's why I'm making this motion. Any other comments or suggestions or questions?
Well, can we ask what the select board was thinking when they wanted to raise that for?
Yeah,
What was their reason?
since the person who made the comment is the chair of the select committee and is in the room, you can turn and ask him.
Yeah.
Or you can ask the select board representative on our committee.
With all that they do in the town and what a difference it's made to the flavor of the town, we felt that they were going tight against their budget, prices are going up, and that if we could help them a little bit more for what they do. But I think that the board would be fine with that being level funded.
And the same can be said about the town. The type argument applies to the town as well.
Right.
It is, but I do agree, if anybody does gardening, and I started to do like a real big vegetable garden this year in my yard, and the cost of everything is really
But they,
expensive.
in their request.
Well, I know they did, but they could, because they think that they can get, can skip and save and do whatever, and if you've had to do that to try to make ends meet, that's, it's pretty hard. So they're gonna absorb some of the costs, which they've been doing, but I think that, the costs are only gonna go up. I mean, so, I don't know, I kind of agree with that myself.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm certainly not arguing that I don't value or think that the town could do without the services that the Passaquoddy Garden Club provides to us. I just, if their budget was that tight, they should have asked for more money. If they asked for $2,760, and we're saying the budget's tight, the budget's got a way higher increase than we want, and we're looking for places to cut, how do we justify giving them more than they're asking for? I feel a little bit like a jerk for doing this, but I think for consistency reasons, that's why it's important.
They could make up a couple hundred with a bake sale or something.
We could each donate $20.
Yeah. But it's just not the time.
I bet the select board will.
Yeah.
All right.
Sean.
Any other comments?
What is the difference? I always get confused. The people who water are volunteers.
Yep,
They're all volunteers, both groups.
Anyone working on like planting stuff.
but there's a down,
Is this just for flowers?
Yes, materials.
So they do the buckets,
Yep.
the rubbish containers downtown, they do flowers there. They do a lot of the plantings. Downtown Decorating Committee, also, they do all the watering and, any events that are downtown, that's their purview. They use the town equipment to go out and do watering, and those are all volunteers on Pasquaney Garden Club as well. So they're not working together, but they coordinate efforts so
Yeah.
that everything is taken care
But
of.
it's still kind of working together.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, they'll tell you they're
Yeah.
two distinct groups, but they collaborate with each other to
Yeah.
make everything happen.
And memberships overlap.
Yeah, yeah,
But also,
I mean, they do a gorgeous job.
yeah.
They have,
We're-
and you
we're a
want to
show
keep it
place.
that way because you want to bring people into this town.
Right.
You want it to look good.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. People are drawn to that. If they see a shabby looking thing, they're gonna say, "Well, why should I come? Why? It's kind of crappy here." You know.
Right.
You don't want that. You want it to look good. So
It's a small amount for what
it's
we
$240.
get out of it.
Come on, you know.
And I know I've had a business and had people tell me how bad things were at times and how good they are now.
Yeah.
And the services we want, we gotta pay for. And with the cost of everything going up the way they have, I'm not voting to take anything away from Pemmy, from
Pasquaney.
the Swanee Garden Club.
We're not taking anything away, level funding.
Pardon me?
The motion on the table is to level fund. We're not.
With
we're giving
inflation,
them
we
what they
are
asked.
taking it away from them.
We're taking away from what the selectmen proposed to give them, which is an increase from what they requested. So
Yep.
We're not taking anything
And
away
if
from them.
if you look at who the people are that are doing it, they've been busting their butts for this town for a long while, and they deserve our support.
Yeah. And look when they're not here anymore. Look when they decide that they're going to, quit or leave or retire or what have you. I mean,
Well, I obviously I agree with Buzz, because I made the motion, so, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be comfortable giving them less than the $27.60 they asked for, but I
The
just,
motion's been
the
made.
motion, the
I'll
motion, the
second it.
motion's been made and it has been seconded, so
Okay.
we are gonna vote on it. And I don't think it's gonna be unanimous, but we'll see how it comes out. Any other comments? All right, I'm gonna call, so again, I'm gonna call.
I hate this. I just feel like if you vote against it, you're voting against Hilda. You're voting, because they put their heart and soul into
You're darn
this.
right.
I hear what you're saying, but
But no. But then again, I say, well, do we really need, I think it's 8 buckets they have around. Do we really need 8? Well,
They do more than that.
It's just a yin and a yang.
I guess the comment I would make is, and I don't know for sure, I can't guarantee it, but I would honestly be surprised if the Pasquaney Garden Club knows that the select board has changed their recommended number and changed it from $27.60 to $3,000.
They don't
They
know.
asked for $27.60, that's what they're expecting to get.
Can
No,
I-
but I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
So,
We have to.
I see the wisdom in what you're saying, and I think we went from the heart with that. It's a small amount of money,
God, I love
and
this
I
town.
think, I think we need to separate. We're not voting against, like you said. This is what they requested. We're supporting them because we're giving what they requested. In our benevolent heart, and in that moment, we felt that we'd add some to it, but I am fine with the motion that you're saying.
So let me, again, recap. So we have I think we're done with discussion. Ron, speak up and change. So we're gonna vote on the amendment that's on the table. It's an amendment to adjust line 836 of section 4652, which is funding for the Passaquanty Garden Club, from the select board recommended amount of $3,000 to $2,760, which is level funding and what they requested. So if you vote yes, you're voting in favor of adjusting from 3,000 to the 2,760. If you vote no, you're voting in favor of keeping it at $3,000. Okay? All in favor of the motion signify by raising their hand. Opposed?
It's killing me.
No, I am Kelly, I'm sorry. So
Oh,
it
wait a
passes
minute.
5-1.
Okay, I think I did that wrong.
Did you want to vote differently?
No, did you say to keep it at that or this?
So you voted in favor of cutting it to 2,760.
Okay, there, that's what I did, but I didn't mean to, but okay.
It's
We
official.
didn't hear that.
I take it back, John.
So it was 5-1, even if you changed it,
Okay,
it still
there you
passes. So
go.
it's
All right.
not, so the passed 5-1.
Okay.
No guilt.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Are there any other sections that people would like to propose a change to? I have to say, I guess I'm in, again, nobody else wants to say anything. Any other comments? I'm gonna,
Afraid of lightning.
no, I'm gonna,
I only feel it for a second.
so I'm looking at line 837, which is the Newfound Lake Region Association, and again, they do wonderful work and they're an important part of the community. They asked for $2,000 last year and we gave it to them. And they showed up at the session this year and they said, we asked for $2,500 because in the meeting well actually I'm discussing and I haven't made an motion, I should stop. I need to make a motion before I discuss things. So I'm gonna make a motion to amend or to modify line 37 of section 4652 from the Newfound Lake Region Association from the current amount of $2,500 to $2,000.
I'll second.
Is there, so I got a second from Sue. So now I will talk about it. And so they showed up at the meeting this year and they basically said, we're asking for $2,500 because last year in the conversation, you guys said we do great work and we don't ask for enough, so we're asking for more money. And I expressed my displeasure at the time, and I don't remember it happening, but I don't think they lied. Somebody probably did it. I don't know who it is, and it doesn't really matter. I'm not asking for, but if they come in and said,
Carol Brown admitted, I think.
if they had come in and said, we're doing more stuff, we're spending more money, we're having more expenses, we need more money, I certainly would have listened to them, I probably would have supported them. But they came in and said, we asked for $2,500 and you guys said we don't ask for more enough, so we're asking for more. That was, I was gonna use a off-color word to describe the quality of that response, but I just, there was no real justification there. They really turned me off there. If they talked about the great work they were doing, I would have been, yeah, I don't really like it, but okay. But all they said was, well, you guys told us to do it. So maybe I'm being a little petty here, but I want to let them know that if they want more money, they need to do a better job justifying it.
You know what I find, because I always have to do NLRA, is people on the lake, old timers, will not vote for anything for NLRA and never become members
Okay.
because they don't see enough change. I think with this new, I think it's Paula, I see a lot of change, a lot of
The new
good
executive.
information in their
Yeah.
letters. My son donates to them. You know, they do a lot of good things.
I mean, the fact that they supposedly found some milfoil on
Yeah.
a boat that was gonna go into the lake, I mean, I don't have any, but I don't think they're lying about it, and if it was true, that was an important save. That was
I've
an
been
important-
doing that.
That was an important thing. They're guest inspectors, I forget what
But
they
you know
call
what?
them, the
I
boat
don't think
ramp,
that
whatever.
was advertised a lot. Because they found milfoil years ago. Ever since I've been up here, they've been checking for milfoil. And that seems to be the thing people remember about them right now, is the milfoil.
Right. But I mean, I do see their things in the latest, I mean, usually I get an email from them, but I actually got something in the mail.
The monitor.
The monitor, and their big thing is they're talking about building some big building at Great Rocks. And I mean, that might be good, but that's a big chunk of money and that's not in Bristol, and if that's what the $500 is going for, that's
No,
not.
that's a separate capital
Yeah.
campaign
Okay.
that they're just announcing. This is just, with you, I heard the same thing, thought it was absurd.
So, I mean, I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself, so I'll stop. But if somebody else feels differently or someone wants to speak up in agreement, let me know. But
I love that lake. I've been on it since I was 2 weeks old. It isn't as nice as it was. When I was a kid, it was a lot cleaner. There were a lot less weeds.
okay.
And there'd be a whole lot more weeds in it. It would be as bad as Winnipesaukee is and other lakes are. I've owned property on 2 other lakes that are so infested with weeds in the summer you can't even walk through it. You're not strong enough to push through the weeds. This is a beautiful lake, and they work hard at keeping it. And it's awful important to this town because it's the heart and soul of this community. Without that lake, we don't have Bristol.
Well, I think you're right, Walter. I was thinking in my head that, you know, it's the people with money that can afford lakefront property that that get a lot of the benefit, and the
They pay
seniors.
60%
And the
of the
seniors that are
taxes in
struggling
this town,
don't,
too.
but the lake is basically the town's economic engine.
Absolutely.
Half of the property is people who don't live here, who own property here, and they're not gonna own property here if we don't have a nice lake, so. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that the health of the lake is important to us as a community.
That and Freudenberg, those are our big people that
Okay.
support the lake.
There, too.
I think we have our next, you go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You can't help himself.
I can't. To Janet's point, there has been a changing of the guard there. And I had been a fairly vocal critic of some of their policies previously. I think that the new executive director is, and in fact, when I was on budget committee, I was adamant that none of the money that the town sent them be used for anything other than testing.
Okay.
And they agreed at the time. Because I felt it's wrong to take tax dollars from somebody and give to a third-party organization, and they could donate to that, they could donate directly to. But the testing goes directly to quality of life here in town, so that's definitely worth it. I think as an organization, they've taken a much broader, I think, view, and are doing it to the point where I've actually become a business member in the last 2 years.
Oh,
and that's
boy.
for the first time in 20 plus years.
I think they're
So-
more constructive than they have been in the
I
past.
think so. And as mentioned, all organizations have their separate capital campaigns, and that's another hat. But I think they are a more responsive organization, and definitely, on the water quality side of things, that's what we felt it was a reasonable ask on their behalf. But again, it's not a line in the sand.
I hear you, and I'm open to other suggestions. This is not a must-do to me, but if we're, to be honest with you, part of it also is, I gotta go back to something I said earlier this meeting. I think we're looking for places to cut.
Yeah.
I'm just more comfortable cutting outside agencies than I am cutting town departments. So I'm willing to be a little more of a jerk with these type of people if it prevents me from having to be a jerk with road or water and sewer or somebody else. So normally I would say, yeah, $500 is not a big deal and whatever, but I think we gotta take the small wins where we can, because we're not gonna find too many big ones, and that's why I'm making this proposal, and I'm looking through the list trying to figure out if I can come up with a third one, but if you guys don't agree, that's fine, we'll move on, but Any other comments?
I
or
just
should I
have
call
two
them?
comments.
Please go ahead.
I think their work is absolutely essential. In my prior life as an environmentalist in New Jersey, I learned a fair amount about stormwater. And what they do, their focus isn't necessarily on the actual water, their focus is on the big bowl that
Watershed.
surrounds it. And I'm one of the offenders, but I notice in the wake of the rainstorms the last couple of years, that a lot of people, including me, are now paving their driveways, which is just gonna have horrendous impact on the water quality of the lake. So I think they're absolutely essential. But the second thing I'll say is, I'm a lake resident, and if my neighborhood, I live in Camelot Acres, and if we're typical of the rest of the lake, and I think we are, there's overwhelming financial support coming out of Camelot Acres in the form of individual donations. So it doesn't trouble me at all to hold them at level funding, because they're doing quite well. And I think that their capital campaign will evidence that
Okay, thank you.
for the new building.
All right, not hearing any more comments. See the smoke come out of Les's ear, she's thinking hard. We're gonna go ahead and vote on this, so I will recap. We are voting on a motion to amend line 836 of section 46, no, wrong line. 837 of section 4652, which is Newfound Lake Region Association. It's a proposed to change the current proposed budget line from $2,500 to $2,000. So we're voting, if you vote yes, you're voting to go ahead and reduce the funding for NLRA from $2,500 to $2,000. If you vote no, you're voting to keep the funding at $2,500. Clear? Okay, all in favor, raise a hand please. Against? Okay, that's 3-3, does not pass.
Oh, good Lord.
See what you did?
I think I counted the votes right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, we know you can count to 3. Come on.
I have 5 fingers, I know at least that high.
Can I make a motion to split the difference and try that?
You certainly
I
can.
make the motion, instead of 25 to 22.50.
I'll second that. So Walter's making a motion to amend line 837 of section 4652 for Newfound Lake Region Association from the current $2,500 to a new amount of $2,250. Motion made by Walter, seconded by me, Paul. Do we need to, anyone want to make a comment, or you want to just go right to a vote? I think we can go right to a vote. So again, you're voting yes, you're voting in favor of cutting. In this case, it's cutting it from $2,500 to $2,250. If you're voting no, you're voting to keep it at $2,500. All in favor? 6-0, passes unanimously. Okay, thank you, Walter. Does anyone else see any other lines in here that you want to consider changing? All right, I'm going to give it one more try. Line 575 of section 4652 is Lakes Region Mental Health. I'm bringing this up, so my motion is to change the current proposed amount of $7,000 to $5,000. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it for discussion.
Thank you, Walter. That's what I was hoping for. The reason I'm bringing this up is that so Buzz wasn't here, the rest of us were. This was a contentious line in last year's discussion. And they had for years asked for $3,500. And then last year they asked for $7,000. And we had quite a bit of a discussion about what should we do and what should make sense. This is actually why I told you that I'm moving the select board number in the original motion, because for the past 3 years we moved the department head's number. So for this line we considered this the agency's funding request to be the department head number. So the motion the original motion gave the mental health people the $7,000 they asked for, even though the select board had recommended level funding them at $3,500. And we spent a good at least 45 minutes talking about it, and there were multiple amendments, and none of them passed. And in the end, it was a bit of we kind of had the same thing where one of our members said, oh wait, how did I vote on that? And so, but we ended up giving them the full $7,000 they asked for. And I know the world is a different place, and being 64 years old, it's changed in ways that particularly for young people, I know it's changed in ways that I don't understand. I think it has to do with the fact that they have the electronic device in their hands so much, and they hear the criticisms from their friends, and so, but anyway, so I don't know all the reasons, but I know mental health is important. It's particularly important in schools. I just want to take an opportunity to say, I was not in favor of giving them the whole $7,000 last year, and I was frustrated when we couldn't agree on a compromise number. And I don't want to spend another 45 minutes, but I did want to bring it up for this group here to discuss. The $5,000 was just kind of a stab. I didn't really give this a lot of thought ahead of time. I didn't want to take them all the way back to $3,500, but I don't really want to get into the habit of saying, okay, 7,000 is your new number, and we're going to level fund you, and anything less than that. I did point out to Maggie, I forget her last name there, executive director, that it was contentious last year, and she had actually, we'd asked her to justify why their request went up, and she had talked about population, and we're like, the 2020 census didn't show a big increase in Bristol residents. Why would our number go up? So she said she'd look into it and come back. So she came back and she sent an email back to me, because I was the chair last year, and she explained it had to do with, they look at what their funding is and their expenses are, and then they say we have a deficit there, and now we want to divide that deficit up around all of the towns in our service area, and we're going to divide it up according to population. So I don't know what the numbers are, but if there's 100,000 people and Bristol has 3,000, they wanted us to pay 3% of that. And she said, but I understand that the budget is tight, and if you guys choose to level fund us, we would be okay with that. We will live with that. So I came to the meeting saying, great, we're going to level fund you. We'll give you the $3,500. And we had a bunch of 3-3 votes. We could never get a number other than to change it. And in hindsight, I wish we'd started with the $3,500 and then had to argue to increase it to $7,000. But we started with the $7,000 and then we never could have. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because I guess I want to take another bite at the apple, and I'll stop now. If you guys think that we gave them $7,000 last year and we should do that, I'm not the end of the world, but
Well,
that's a lot of money.
mental health hasn't improved.
Has not improved.
It's not improved. In fact, it's gotten probably twice as bad, if not more. So I don't feel that you should go backwards on this one myself. I feel
I don't either.
I think it's a very important thing, not just for the children you're talking about, but the adults. I mean, this is a crazy world right now.
I hear what you're saying. I guess part of the thing also is that I know they have an office in Plymouth, but their main office is in Laconia.
Mm-hmm.
You read about what they're doing. They're working to try to solve homeless situation, because I think I don't know. I think they think that it's because if you have mental problems, you're more likely to be homeless. So if they solve the homeless, that helps with that. But they're running helpless shelters. They're just had a whole big thing where they've been arguing with Laconia about zoning. They want to build a building with like 12 efficiency apartments in it, and that, I don't know if anyone else saw it in the paper, it turned into a big zoning stink that they finally did approve like last week or the week before. But so so that's part of what it is they're doing things that I don't see as being directly tied into mental health, and so but I don't disagree with what you're saying, so I'm going to stop talking because I really don't want to drag this on. Janet, I'll let Janet go first, then you, Walter.
two things.
Yep.
I live on West Shore Drive,
Okay, yeah,
and years ago, I had asked a fireman, why on a Sunday afternoon do I hear you going by our house all the time?
okay,
It's noticeable, not on Saturday, but on Sunday.
okay, what was the answer?
Because we have a house that needs Norcan 3 times a day on Sunday.
Okay,
And then I listened to Jim, the former police chief,
okay.
and this came up at one of our meetings. And he said, if we don't have a place to bring people, what are we gonna do with them when they have issues?
Okay,
So a week ago Saturday, now I'll delve into my private life. A week ago Saturday, my oldest granddaughter, 17, she goes to private school in a very nice area. And the school brought her and 2 friends down to like a Cumberland Farms. When they were walking around the area, a car drove by, a guy jumped out. Now there's 3 girls. And was going to knife them. And he had the knife out and he was going towards them. They ran to a Dollar General, or whatever it's called, and my granddaughter looked backwards when they were entering the store, and he was getting out of his car, chasing them in the store with a knife. They hid under the clothes rack. They called 911. This was the weekend that everything happened in Maine. So she says, Nina, there were so many policemen there. Well, it was, I bet every policeman, had their ears out. And the cops said to the girls, we know this man. The school was there picking them up anyway, and no one was injured. But the thought of my granddaughter being attacked by someone that's known by the police, which I'm sure if we had, someone here, and there's a lot of mental health issues, and I think we should leave it at 70.
okay, I hear you.
Just the personal experience put me over the edge, and on a Sunday afternoon on Newfound Lake, that's what you hear.
Gotcha.
So I think there's more problems maybe than we know about, and so that's mine.
Thank you, Janet. Walter, did you want to say something?
The amount of mental health care available up in Maine the weekend of that that man at the bowling alley, he put that AR in my brother Charlie's grandson's face and pulled the trigger. And there was nothing in the gun. God was on our side. The mother grabbed him, ran out of that room into the other one. The retarded son was in the bathroom and they were trying to keep him in the bathroom. There were only 85 social workers in the state of Maine licensed to handle that person, to handle all those people that needed help. And we're going to argue about a couple of $1,000s for mental health care.
Okay, thank you, Walter. I think I see which way the wind is blowing, so if there are more comments, I'm certainly open to them, but I'm gonna call the vote because I think it's pretty clear, to me at least, how this is gonna go. So let's go ahead and do this, resolve this. So the motion on the table is for line 575 of section 4652, which is Lakes Region Mental Health, to change the funding from $7,000 to $5,000. So if you vote yes, you're voting in favor of reducing funding from $7,000 to $5,000. If you vote no, you're voting to keep the funding at $7,000. Again, by a show of hands, all in favor? Yep. All opposed? 2, 3, 4. The vote fails 1 to 5, which is, thank you for listening to me. I'll say that.
thank you for being here because I'm killing myself spending money. I can't afford my taxes now.
I'm just looking for more places. I think that probably reached too far on that last one, so I'll stop. Does anyone else have anything else, or should we go ahead and move the bottom line of this section? All right.
You want
So,
the new number, Paul?
yeah,
$38,348.
We reduced it by?
yeah,
No, it's down to that, yeah.
Yep.
right. So we made a small reduction to Passaquoddy Garden. We made a, no, Newfound Lake failed, right?
No, you
Pass.
moved to 2250.
Oh, that's right, the compromise number. So we made a, right. So, all right, we're gonna vote now on the bottom line of section 4652 in the amended amount of $38,348. So if you,
But
so,
didn't we amend it?
so we amended it. Originally, it was $38,838. You see that?
No, I don't. Oh, here it is. I keep,
This is the number that we started at, and now it's $38,340.
okay.
348.
348.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a small change in Passaquoddy Garden Club to level fund them, and there's a small change to Newfound Lake Region Association to half the increase that they asked for.
Can I just ask Christine a question before we?
Sure,
do that?
go ahead.
I'm just looking at this, and the bottom line, and it's a CY, current year budget is 349, and the current year actual is 348. Is that a typo, or did we actually spend $1 less than?
David was budgeted $1, we didn't actually spend the $1, though.
Keep it
So
open.
if you,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all
we
right,
kept it open in case they opened this year, but they didn't open, so.
okay.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on section 4652 in an amended bottom line amount of $38,348. All in favor, raise your hand. 6. So opposed and abstains are 0, 6-0. And by some stroke of miraculous luck, last year's budget was 38,349, and this year's budget is 38,348.
Nice.
So we basically are level funding the section.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that, for everyone. All right, I think that's it. Let me go back to the agenda. Where are the agenda? For new business. So the next item on our
Have a good evening.
agenda
Thank you,
is,
Sean.
thank you, Sean, is minute meetings. So the draft minutes of the last meeting, which was October 24th, were distributed with the meeting invitation. Did anyone else find any additional corrections?
I don't know how anal to get. I can't help myself, but do you want typos or? do
Sure,
we
go
just-
ahead.
Sure, yeah.
Because I've got 4 of them.
These are yours.
Under new business, in the second line of text, it's proposed budget in order, and then there's a semicolon, that should be a colon.
Okay.
Okay.
And 2 lines farther down, the line begins throughout each department, and it says reflected increases. The word as is a non sequitur. I think it should be for, F-O-R. And then about halfway down, there's a line that begins director currently.
Yep.
And after the date 2025, there should be a semicolon. And then finally, about 2/3 of the way down, there's a line that begins the budget lines, period. And if you farther on, it says state of the town should be a capital T.
Right, hang on a second, I can't find that one.
It begins, it's about 2/3 of the way down, and it begins on the left, the budget lines, period.
This is all in this first section?
Yeah, it's all on the first section.
There you go.
I'm showing you that.
Oh, I see it, okay, got it.
And that's it.
These are, The ones I had, I put in order.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So, what, can you repeat what it should be again?
It just should be a capital T on the word town.
Thank you.
It's a proper noun.
Thank you. Anyone else want to make any proposed corrections or make any comments? I don't see any problem with any issue with Buzz's corrections. They don't change the meaning, they just correct the grammar and things like that, so. Not hearing any more, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 24th meeting as amended. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Walter will second. I don't think there's any discussion, so all in favor? Raise your hand. That's got 6 hands. That's 6-0. We're approved the minutes. Correspondence.
None, for me anyway.
Trying to think if I got any other correspondence. I don't think so. No, I don't have any correspondence. I don't think. Does anyone else have any correspondence they want to share? Okay. We will go around the table for member comments. We'll start with our select board member. Les, anything?
I have no comments.
Okay. Buzz, anything you wanted to? Susan?
I just have a question. When are we, when is the fire department and police department coming for our meeting?
I could tell you our next meeting is in 2 weeks, but I would need to call the schedule up to see exactly when police and fire are coming. I don't know off the top of my head. I know it's available. Let me look it up. Actually, Christina's looking it up now.
So, let's see, police and fire.
December 23rd.
Wow.
Close to Christmas?
That,
No, it's
I don't-
December.
no.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Tuesday, the 12th of December.
December
that sounds better.
Yeah.
Talk about a Scrooge.
December 12th, yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah, the 23rd.
But you know what's funny? I actually was gonna tell you that. Do you want it in an email that I won't be here December 12th?
Okay,
I'll be in Canada, so we'll be back in time.
you can, okay.
Okay.
You go after it. Good for you.
Okay.
So I'll miss that one.
No? Okay. I don't think I have any other comments. Walter, do you have any? Jen? Okay. Christina, staff comments? None. Okay. I think that is it for our agenda, so I will, anyone want to make a motion to, Buzz will make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Seconded by Susan. All in favor? 6-0. We are adjourned. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks on Tuesday, November 28th. Everyone have hopefully a wonderful family Thanksgiving.